Rock Around the Region. Samantha and I being joined in studio, yet another brand new band to the show. But just right down the road in Nashville is where home is for Stack. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here. Yeah, you got to do more than just nod. We can't hear you nod unless you got some marbles rolling around up in there.
Well, he's got a few of those.
There could be a strong rattle. So.
Well, you know, we were just talking about beverages of choice and too much Crown, too much tequila, and whatever. That'll make your head rattle a little bit.
Yeah.
So I want to start with the basics on this because you guys are brand new here. So we always just have a nice little gentle get to know you session. I want to know, first off, how long this band has been together and how you guys met.
It's been on and off since 2006, actually. But there was about a 3-year break in there where we started off with one lineup and then we reconvened a few years later with David playing drums, and we went from having 2 guitar players to just one. We were originally a 5-piece, and we've done the 4-piece lineup since 2012, I believe.
20, yeah.
So.
And working out better for you being a 4-piece with one less?
It wasn't necessarily anything better or what. It was just other people had other things going on.
Right.
So now we do
this. Some people have to go adult.
And it was like 2 guitar players was cool. We dug it, but
you figured out how to make it work with just you guys.
One, it was a whole new world. So
I think we were worried about chemistry a lot too, having audition guitar players, and the chemistry between the remaining 4 of us was so good. It's just like, why mess with it?
Yeah, don't mess with a good thing. Don't fix what's not broken. And the other one I just had was don't upset the apple cart. I don't know. I'm full of cliches today. Apparently, is what I've got going on. So, where did you guys meet to put this band together then? I mean, Nashville, was the band always in Nashville, or did you guys start out somewhere else and wind up in Nashville?
We were always here in Nashville. We're all from other places because everybody is in Nashville. Right. But I go back, I've been playing music with our guitar player for about 16 years.
Wow.
And he and I had come from one band and formed Stack with 3 of the original members from the band, the Screaming Cheetah Wheelies, actually. And our bass player from that band is still with us. And we actually met them because the guitar player Bob Watkins actually owned a studio where Keith and I had recorded our old band, and they were playing. I kept joking with them because they were working on music together, and he didn't have a singer, and it was bluesier stuff. And whereas Keith and I were doing metal at the time, and I wanted to get bluesier. I kept joking with him like I would love to sing on some of that stuff with you guys, and then. It went from what was supposed to just be a side project for me and Keith, and we were going to keep our metal band going, and so we just hooked up with them and just started writing these songs, and it was just like kind of met in the middle. Keith and I came from a heavier background. These guys were bluesier, but we like bluesy stuff and we like southern stuff, and I mean we like everything, and Stack just became like the perfect mesh of you can almost hear a hint of metal at times, and you can hear some southern and some blues, and it just became for me as a singer it was a perfect fit for my voice because I don't know, metal never quite worked for me as a singer. I think to an extent, but just this was a better home for my voice, and it just kind of went from there. So
and that's a tricky thing because there are people that think that they can do the metal and they can do the screaming, and they find out very quickly it's very, very difficult on your vocal cords, and there is a skill to being able to do that for sure. Yeah. So I want to back up a little bit because you did mention Screaming Cheetah Willies. I want to say I'm familiar with the band, not hugely, but there was a soundtrack. Wasn't there a soundtrack? There was a song on, right? Chucky.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I remember from.
I think it was Boogie King was the name of the song. Yeah, they did a video for that and the whole deal for Bride of Chucky. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy small world and how it rolls around. So then. You guys obviously going from the metal to the bluesy and whatever. I want to back up to when you guys first, like when you were kids. What did you grow up in your house? What did your parents play?
My dad had bands from the day I was born. It was like always a thing in my house. The garage was full of instruments. The PA.
So you've got a whole musical family.
Yeah, and I had a guitar, but I can't do guitar. I can't do guitar at all. I'm okay, but nothing special. But the big thing was the drums, and then my uncle plays drums, so his kit was at my house for my dad and them to practice. They had a band, and I would just go out there before he got home, sneak out there.
Start tinkering around?
Yeah, bang on the drums.
Self-taught, or did you end up taking lessons?
No, I went. I learned through schooling and stuff like that, but it wasn't drum set. It was just classical stuff, percussion.
Much more technical.
Yeah, so that helped a lot.
Yeah.
But the drum set stuff. literally, it was one day where went to show my uncle. I was like, "Hey, look what I can do!" And it was kick snare, Paradise City, something crazy, right? And he goes, he didn't even realize what I was doing. He goes, "That's great, but you need to put the hi hat in." And I was like,
Oh yeah.
"Oh, delight! I know what I'm doing now."
Get all of the pieces together.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
kind of music then were you growing up with, as far as like the styles and the genres that you grew up on?
I mean, and as far everything, like I had heard everything, but
What was their band that they had? What were they doing?
it was classic rock,
Okay.
top 40 kind of thing, just cover band. That's what it pretty much was. And for me, learning drums, it was kind of like pop punk
Mm-hmm.
in a way, and then Metallica was something I would just sit down and just go after it. The Black Album.
That's very ambitious, because
Yeah.
I mean, people will say what they will about Lars, but the dude can play.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. I ain't got nothing to say about him much now, but then I
You're
was
probably
like,
not the only one, but yeah.
then I was digging it. I really.
Hey, they
did.
might be past their prime, but for
No, it's not even about
yeah,
that.
I know, but
It's when you find out, like, you idolize someone and then you meet him and you find out that they're a dick, and then everything changes. It's like, well,
yeah, that's
I'm
why I
not
say it's like it's not good to meet some of your idols.
yeah,
and,
because it can be a huge letdown. It's-
Yeah, that's why I never want to meet Dave Mustaine, because I love him, but I've heard a lot of, he's got a history. About being like that. That being said, I actually would still probably want to meet him, even if he wasn't a jerk.
Just
but,
see what it was about.
I
Just
still,
Right.
I still
It's sad though, because someone who lives in that kind of spotlight, like, they're not allowed to have bad days, but we all have bad days. We have days where, like, people meet me and they're like, she's a bitch. I'm actually not. I'm a very nice person, but every once in a while we have bad days and you just don't want to people.
It is
And you don't
what
want
it
to do
is.
that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's always kind of interesting when you do meet those people and you hope that they're not jerks like that. Dave actually is okay. I've met him, and I'm surprised you guys rolling around Nashville haven't, because he lives there now.
I keep hoping I will, actually. I jokingly said, if he ever comes across this, but I'm a big Dave Mustaine fan. It just, I read about him moving to Nashville, and it was for his daughter.
For his daughter, yeah, and she's actually been in this building a couple of times, because our top 40 sister station down the hallway, in fact, the same guy that made this lovely lamp over here, this Jameson lamp, Randy used to do this kind of local show there, and so he would have, and every genre under the sun he would have in, and so she came in one day with her brother.
Right.
Yeah, we were like, oh my God, your dad is Dave Mustaine, and she's like, yeah, I know. Like, everywhere I go, I mean,
no big deal.
do you know who your dad is?
Yeah, I see him all the time.
Yeah, I did that when I met Jason Bonham too. I'm like, do you know who your father is?
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That was a really, really drunken night, and that's a story for another time. But so back to you. Aside from Dave Mustaine, what did you grow up listening to in your household, and what inspired you to become a musician?
Oddly enough, MTV inspired me to be a musician. But
You back when they actually played videos?
back when the
When it
80s,
was actually
when I actually
MTV.
played music. But I'm the youngest of three boys, and I have a younger mother, and so with my mother, it was stuff that I still loved. Fleetwood Mac and Led Zeppelin and Genesis and Phil Collins solo stuff and all that 70s stuff. And then, like, I remember my oldest brother, it was Van Halen and Night Ranger. I mean, that was it for him, and then so it was it started with 80s rock in the whole MTV generation, and seeing the videos and thinking that was cool, and here all these years later I still think that's cool. But then my brother who was in the middle turned me on to metal when I was 10, and Justice for All.
Metallica seems to be a good common ground for a lot of people.
But then you dig your way back, and then my teens, it was just thrash. It was Overkill and
Testament.
Slayer,
Yeah.
Megadeth, Anthrax, and I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and all those bands would come through these clubs.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I grew up going to see all of them, and that was
I didn't have anything. Right?
that was an interesting, intense teenage year, but it was amazing, and then I've grown from there because I still love metal, and I still love even thrash. I go back and listen to.
Right.
Because I was huge into Overkill back then. They were like my main band, and I met them a few times. I actually saw them like 7 times
Nice.
growing up in Cincinnati. But then I've gotten into bluesier stuff, and like these days I really love Clutch. That's one of
Yeah.
the ones, and like Rival Sons and stuff like that. They're like a modern classic rock band, and so it's just. But it was like my brothers and my mom's influence, and because there's no musicians in my family, it was just. My brothers were really good athletes, and I wasn't. And I was always more artistic, and I just found music, and that's just kind of been the way, it's been ever since. It was supposed to be a phase, but
That's what they always say.
yeah.
And it's you either do it or you go, no, I'm going to dedicate my whole life to eating ramen and do this thing, which, it's a huge amount of dedication, and it's a good thing. And I got to imagine that Nashville's got to be a little bit of a blessing and a curse for your location, because Nashville is, yes, it's Music City, USA, but there's so much saturation with the amount of artists that are there,
I would say,
regardless of genre.
Yeah.
totally.
There's a ton.
There's artists we don't even know. We're like, oh, I've never heard of these guys before.
Exactly, and
They've
that's
been
where I've
around
been the
for 10
last few
years,
weeks,
yeah.
because all of these bands that have been getting recommended to me, I'm like, I'm finding more and more, and I'm loving the fact that I'm finding more and more rock and metal that's coming out of Nashville that I didn't know existed in the last 4 years that I've been doing this show, and I'm just like, this is fantastic, because people kind of get it in their heads that Nashville is all country music,
Right.
and it's not. There's a lot of rock there. There's a lot of great shows. There's a lot of great bands that come through and play places like, Marathon and the Cannery and all of that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the daily ins and outs, when you can walk down Broadway any given day and walk into any bar, and it's the same thing going on with cover band after cover band after cover band, and those people are, okay, they're playing for tips, but they're still raking it in because you're a cover band.
Yeah.
And so a band like you guys, and especially when you go back 16 years to now, how have you figured out a way to kind of like break through the noise? You've got 2 albums that you've handed me here, and you've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
So how do you break through that, and especially in a city like Nashville?
I think we're still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, 'cause it's really tough, because whenever I got in the band, there was a lot more places to play.
Yeah.
Now the city is developing. It's more residential,
It's nothing but
less
condos.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool clubs that we used to love to play at, and some of them are just inaccessible now because it costs so much to even just play there. You're not paying to play, but you're paying to park, all that good stuff.
Parking in
It's
Nashville
crazy.
is beyond ridiculous.
Yeah.
And when you got 4 guys showing up, it's costs you over $100 just to get to the show.
Right.
But there's just a lot less. It seems like a lot less of a scene in our side of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of comes and goes in different clubs. It's not like a place.
Yeah, and the
anymore.
main places too. They're in Nashville, but they're not in downtown Nashville. It's the outskirts. It's like
Right.
the cool original rock has got pushed out to the outskirts of Nashville as far as playing.
Our clique of it, because there literally is that.
So what are some of the places that you guys do get to play around there? Obviously not downtown Nashville, but like some of those surrounding areas.
Well, you got Main Street. Occasionally has some rock shows out
And then
there.
Murfreesboro.
Revelry in Hendersonville has rock shows. There's a bowling alley out there. Has a club in the top of it. I don't remember what it's called though. It's right in the same parking lot as the Revelry.
Oh, nice.
So they got a little thing there.
I can't think of the name off the top of my head either.
Yeah, that part kind of sads me a little bit, because I know over the course of the last several years of doing this show, I've had people tell me that they've been in here once. I'm like, yeah, we play here, and then the next time they come back, that club is gone.
Yeah, because it used to be the Rutledge. You used to go to 12th and
The
Porter.
Rutledge on 4th
You
Avenue
used to
was
go to
like
Rock
a-
Bar. There was like all kinds of places downtown to play, and
Yeah.
that's all gone.
Yeah, even Hard Rock Cafe was
Yeah,
real
we
open
went
to it
there.
for a while, and they're kind of weird. They'll have rock bands for a while, then they'll go through a stretch where they don't want to mess with it. And
Yeah, you
but
don't
we-
I had
know
trouble
what's
even
going
getting in
on.
the door there. We went up for just a weekend night out. We're like, let's go over to the Hard Rock, grab a burger and a beer. Couldn't even. Nope, we're sorry, we're closed for a private party. Who rents out the entire Hard Rock Cafe on a Saturday night? Like, seriously?
somebody with
Exactly.
money.
I got some money.
Somebody with-
Yeah, it was the same night as Garth Brooks at the Bridgestone. So we were like, let's go get something to eat. Like, that's right here. And they're like, no, we have a private party going on. I'm like, good God.
There's lots of music here. It's just it's hard to find a place.
Yeah, I always tell
Yeah.
people this is a great place to meet musicians to play with, but not always the greatest place to play. And
Yeah.
I hate to say anything even remotely negative about Nashville. Because I love Nashville and I've been here a while, but it's just challenging because you're competing.
It's always changing too.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving and changing, and it's just there's a ton of great talent. And so the only thing we've come up with as far as standing out is, we're lucky in a sense, because this is where I'm going to give David a plug. David owns a studio we record at, and he's the engineer, he's the producer, he mixes.
That cuts your overhead down.
That does. And we also get to rehearse in this beautiful studio he built. And we focus on writing songs and try to put out good songs, and that's, nobody's reinventing the wheel at this point because it's just rock and roll, but I don't think we really sound like anybody that we can pick out in Nashville. I think we kind of do our own thing, and I think the fact that we kind of mix it up a little bit, so we get along great as friends, and we believe in what we do. And we've been complimented as songwriters, so which is to me is the best compliment. Whether he's the best drummer or if I'm the best singer, if getting the songs getting the compliment is the most important thing to me. And we've been told we're good songwriters, and that's what we really
we love
focus
to
on.
play though.
So
Yeah.
you can kind of focus on all of these things
Yeah.
and let the rest of it just kind of it'll sort itself out.
We hope so.
Not that
yeah.
you're sitting there necessarily waiting for something to fall in your lap, but it's not like the biggest stressor for you right now.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
'cause, yeah, it's not like we're following trends and trying to do anything. You know, we just try to develop what we do. We believe in what we do, and we're four guys who genuinely love to play,
And four guys with great chemistry, obviously.
Yeah, and we enjoy playing with each other. I mean, you know, the music with each other. That almost sounded bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. So don't play on that part. Yeah, but we enjoy playing as a band, you know. So it's just, just always trying to because, we're about to release a new album, and we were talking about this on the way up here because we've been, for us, we've been working on it for a while. So it's like, even though it's new, then that we got to get it out to everybody. But I'm already in my mind. I'm like, well, what's the next group of songs we're going to write? I'm already
Hey,
creating.
come
Yeah.
back. We gotta focus. We gotta focus.
I know there's a
Gary.
whole next leg where we got to promote and do this, and this. But I'm like, well,
It's a painstaking process,
Yeah,
and
but
it's not glamorous by any
no,
means.
it's not.
No.
So let's go back to your writing with everything. You brought me the 2 EPs you have now, and you've got another one coming out. Which
We got a full length one
you got
coming
a,
out.
okay,
next.
so
Yeah.
and you sent me that song, which I have not listened to it yet because I'm saving it. I'm
Oh,
saving
okay,
it to
cool.
debut with this interview. But for right now, I'm playing Man Down, and that's the one that kind of jumped out at me. And I went to your guys' page and I ran through the gamut, and
That's
they're
been a popular
really
one.
the very cool thing is all of the songs are just a little bit different from each other. It's not like you're gonna drop the needle on the record and hear a Green Day album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to knock on Green Day, but they have a very distinct sound, and all of the songs eventually start to sound exactly the same and becomes droning. So you guys have got a little bit different sound going on absolutely everything that you've got out there, which I think is really cool because it's going to keep somebody intrigued,
Yeah.
and you're not going to get bored with it by any
And it
means.
started as the 5 guys, and
Mhm.
then went down to the 4, and then we did that EP, and then we had another EP with the organ on it, where we just thought we'd just do a little different this time,
Yeah.
and then our next fooling is going to be even just us, raw, go get it.
Yeah,
Right.
now it's big. The next one's bigger, and a bigger production, and
Yeah.
just
So it's all.
But you've been working on it
really
so
true.
long that you're going, okay, now can we move on? But yet we
Yeah.
haven't heard all of this yet. So
Yeah, I
and I
know.
can see that where it gets a little frustrating. So when it comes to you guys writing, who is everybody collaborate, or is there somebody that is comes up with the riff first, or the words come first, or is it just kind of
I would say
it falls together perfectly most days?
actually,
not perfect.
not perfect, but the ideas come quick.
Yes.
The ideas come real
Extremely quick. There's Keith might bring in a riff to the practice room, the
Mhm.
studio, whatever, and then either we like it, jam on it, whatever, or we just turn it on and go. And
Right.
then we're like, hey, that's going to be a song.
quick.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's a
And
beautiful
then
thing when
we're
that
like,
happens.
Gary, figure out the words.
No pressure. Go write
Well,
something.
It's gotten, especially with the, between Keith and I, our guitar player, because he and I go back so far. It's just, there's times. I mean, I keep a notebook with me and I'll start writing on the spot. Not every time, but it's.
So you're still old school with a notebook and a pen instead of talking into your iPhone?
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm so technologically
You need
inept.
to see it.
You know
Yeah.
what? I think that's okay because I like to have something that's still I guess organic to the whole process. The old school side of it.
Yeah, here I am all these years later, and I still carry around a backpack with notebooks full of lyrics. I mean, the same thing I was doing in high school.
Yeah.
And I say that in a good way because I think it's
That's what
great.
works for you.
And it helps me, and to write them out helps me memorize them too. So, but a lot of I mean, yeah, Keith brings in a lot of ideas because Keith is, I can't say enough about our guitar player. He's really brilliant. We go back a long way, but we can normally tell within the first few bars whether we're all going to jump in on it. When we jump in on it, and like our bass player Steve's really good with the arrangement ideas, and we all chip in on the arrangement. So it's ultimately it's all a collaborative.
So, yeah,
thing,
but it sounds like everybody's got their piece that they can
Oh, yeah.
that they contribute.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you realize it or not, you're responsible for this. You're responsible for this, and it just kind of happens,
Oh,
which is
totally.
cool. So when you're doing all of these things and you have something that maybe you're not quite ready to jump on yet, do you guys just kind of shelve that and see if maybe it's something you come back to? Because as you're
Actually-
saying, you're already talking about moving forward on songs because you've heard the same song and done the same lyrics time and time and time and time again, that you get to the point you're like, oh, this is crap. I
Well,
can't
yeah,
do
because
this.
you're in
We're
one
gonna start
place
over.
with the business side of it. Yeah, creatively, because creatively you always want to, because I'm always wanting to I think as a band we always want to one up ourselves. Like we're really proud about the album we're about to release, but I'm already like, well, I want to top it now, So because it's so good, it's like
This
well,
is like
we
wine,
think
though.
it's
You've
so
got to
good.
you've got to allow the cork to come off and let that thing breathe
That's
a little
what I keep
bit.
saying.
I know David's much better at pacing. I give him that. He's much better. I'm constantly. What are we doing next?
Do I wish we would have started a little sooner? Yeah, but we're not. We're here now. This is what we're doing.
And maybe you weren't supposed to start sooner. You
Yeah,
know.
Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, I don't want to get all like weird about it, but you know,
Yeah.
things do
Yeah.
have a time and a place and
It
a
seems
reason.
like there's some other people around us who are doing similar things, so it feels good right now.
Yeah.
Just from just being aware of what everybody else is doing, other bands, things like that. So I think it's good timing for me. I don't know about him.
I'm just always excited.
He's just gone. Whatever. Let's move on to the next thing.
I'm just
That's where
always-
he's at.
It's just I love creating, and I mean that's the great thing about being an artist and a creative person. I just always want to do more, you know. And
Yeah.
it's never a work thing to me. The business side of it's work for me, and it kind of drives me crazy. Although I'm willing to do it and don't mind doing it, but the creative thing is, especially when you have chemistry and we have a history together, even as a group now, to where it's so easy and it's so fun. And you know, like we were saying before, when you meet people, you never know what someone's going through. So and
Right.
everybody's got their stuff in their life, and so it's cathartic if you got stuff going on in your life. And then
For sure.
you know, being creative is, you know, it's like having a therapist that you're not paying to go to or something, you know. It's just
Well, yeah, I mean, because
you-
your words and your music are going to become your outlet,
yeah,
and
so
in turn be somebody else's outlet.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
being a
True.
musician, and you know, we've all done it for a long time. None of us are newbies to any of this. It's such a natural part of life just to be creative. So I'm always wanting to move forward. But yeah, David, you know, that definitely brains me. Cause I guess I am probably the one who probably gets the most excited about what's next. What's next? We're gonna write this. I got.
I'm like,
Well,
man,
yeah,
hey, we're still here.
Yeah. But we do record. To answer your question too, like we record. That's when we do record stuff into the phone. Like, you know, we can David or Keith.
You got to do it
most
before
of
you
the
lose
time.
the idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though
so-
we're in the studio, we're not like hooking all the mics up and doing the full blown thing. It's
Yeah.
I literally have my phone sits on Keith's guitar stand.
Right.
And that's the idea, and then it goes out in our inboxes, and then we think
Yeah,
about it
David
for
will
a week.
email them, and then,
And
yeah,
that
'cause
works.
there's sometimes I'll just go through stuff from months ago, and I'll forward. I'm like, remember this song? Everyone's going, no.
Because
I
we
don't
put stuff
remember
down
that."
all the time, you forget about it.
Yeah, you
See,
know.
and while you might be old school carrying the notebooks around for the lyrics, it's, you know, that's one of the blessings of technology now that you have
Yeah.
that ability
Mhm.
to record those ideas, because you know what? You might get hit with a riff in the middle of the night. You can't exactly write that down on paper. Or you
Right.
can wake up with a notebook on your nightstand and go, rah, there it is.
Yeah, because
So-
I even got some riffs. I play a little bit. No, I don't play guitar in the band, but I play guitar, and I'll bring a few riffs in every once in a while myself. So
It
yeah.
probably helps your writing process, I would imagine, a little bit, because if you know, maybe you got some words rolling around and then all of a sudden you start hearing a melody that goes with it.
Yeah, or a melody that David tells me I need to do.
Yeah, I'm glad about that. Hey, it's
No, it's
Are you bossy?
at times.
man.
Yes, but I mean, because he serves as the producer too. So I mean,
We just came from the studio.
So you
and I
have
was
you
telling
you
them.
you have the right and should be bossy, because
Yeah.
A, you gotta herd the cats,
Yeah.
and it's your job. I'm curious as to how you do it though, because obviously being a part of the band, you know more than anybody the sound that you're trying to achieve.
hmm
But at the same time, when you're producing your own stuff, do you ever run that risk of maybe not pushing yourself hard enough? Because to me, a good producer pushes whoever is in that studio going, no, I know you can do better. I know you can play that better. I know those vocals can come out better. So how do you do what you need to do as a producer, but yet remain somewhat objective, being on the artistic side of it?
Him and I have had some great conversations in the studio.
Conversations or
Yeah,
fights?
we'll call them conversations. Where there's a ton of frustration.
Spirited conversations.
There's a ton of frustrations being thrown around, and that's all for the good of what we're doing.
yeah, because
Right.
we get it all.
Do I not probably push myself hard enough sometimes? Probably right. Yeah, but it's not because I just. don't
So
think
no
about
point
it,
in
but-
these spirited conversations do you turn around and go, yeah, dude, what about you? What are you going to do? What are you going to change?
No, generally.
Because I mean,
I don't screw up.
No, because the other three of us are there. For this. I mean, we produce his part for him. Like the drums, like we're going to tell him, and Keith and Steve, they're real specific about what they hear. So,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like the vocals, I challenge.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
And
Do it
it's,
again.
when it gets harder too, because about
He starts staring at you across the room and going, I'm going
I
to
put
kill
him in
you.
I put him in an isolation booth where I can't see him.
No, that's crap. That's crap. No, because about half of the vocals we recorded for the album were just the two of us. But then there's the times where Steve and Keith come in, and it's great because I love hearing everybody's ideas. But sometimes you got everybody's ideas at one time.
Right.
And I'm just
you're
trying.
I'm like, shh.
Yeah.
Do it like this.
Okay, so we're gonna edit this vocal part. We want you to completely change the melody, and I got 3 guys telling me 3 different ways to sing it and do it recorded for the album now.
Right.
And it's just
And
like
we go home for a couple of weeks and don't talk to each other.
No,
and
no,
we come
no.
back and get it.
No.
No, that one song.
You laugh at that, but that's not an uncommon thing, especially, I mean, from the time a band gets out of a studio and then goes and hits the road for, 9, 12 months. By the time it's go your separate way, don't call me for 3 months.
I
I
guess
don't
the
want to hear
thing
you.
about us is we just stay in the studio, so it's painful. No, I'm playing.
Are the walls padded just in case?
No, there's some bad.
you get frustrated, but just in the moment, you know. You
It's
take
all in fun. We know what we're going for in the end.
Right.
So we all can get frustrated, but it all comes
Yeah.
together.
It's good that you have a way to like get through it and figure it out because I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to become Oasis and explode in the studio and just be like, that's it, I'm out of here. I don't care if you're my brother.
Right.
Well,
It
it's
makes me
like-
sad when stuff like that happens because you are, 4 different dudes, 4 different personalities, different backgrounds, different ideas, and to be
Totally.
able to put it all together and have it, become this great artistic creation that you can share that other people are going to relate to. It's an amazing thing.
It
And that's
is.
why God made beer, to calm people down.
Beer or tequila? Are we moving on to beer now?
I like beer.
Alcoholic beverages in
Oh.
general.
Yeah, just
all
take
good
it
for you.
easy, take a break, walk away.
Well, and obviously you guys have got some good things coming here because you guys have like 7 nominations for Nashville Music City Awards,
Yeah,
something like that over
yeah,
the
yeah.
course.
In the past, yeah. I don't know how many it was.
I think there was 4 or 5 one year, and then David gets nominated regularly for being a drummer. I don't know how, but
I
you know.
win, man. I'm just getting
He's a
nominated.
winner.
No, but yeah. But yeah, all that stuff's nice and it's flattering, and but
But you just want to move on to the next record.
I just want to make good music. No, I'm dying to get this one out. I mean, I think a lot of it's been David painstakingly going over the mixes and the mastering, which I totally respect and I totally
Right.
get. Especially I think because he does it all and because he's doing it for the band that he's part of.
Right.
I can see why.
Probably a little
he's
bit more meticulous.
Oh yeah, and he's been more meticulous than normal this time, and I don't say that in a negative way because I ultimately get it.
Right.
This is
Obviously,
our
everyone's
thing, and
feeling the same way about this. Like
Yeah.
this one is going to be something
yeah, I think,
very incredibly special.
Yeah, I think we feel stronger about this than probably anything we've done. So
So what are some of the things that influence you when you are writing? I mean, because you're walking around with notebooks, and so obviously there's got to be a plethora of ideas that pop into your head. But what are some of the things that inspire you that you find yourself writing about?
Life events. I'll speak for him.
Well, I mean, yeah, this time around, I mean, it was real personal. I
For
mean,
this new record coming.
yeah, I had some life events take place that
Okay.
To go any far.
yeah, we won't get too deep into it.
This
but
is
no,
not
it's
Jerry
just-
Springer or Maury. We
Yeah,
don't have to.
yeah, but yeah,
No
I
chair
mean-
throwing.
Yeah, there was just a lot of real. Everybody writes personally, and I've always done that to an extent. But a lot of the stack stuff has been more on the fun side, this
Yeah.
time. And there are on the new album some songs that are like that, but a lot of it's real personal this time. And I mean, and I needed it, and we've discussed it because they read all my lyrics when I'm cutting the vocals, and we actually had a discussion about it amongst us, and because it's almost like, hey, dude, are you all right? I mean,
Right.
we're reading this
Normally
stuff.
we
We're
have like.
we gonna have a intervention here or something. But, just like I said before about things being cathartic, and
Yeah.
particularly for me this time around, I've been through a tough stretch over the last year and a half, and thank God.
So
for music.
it's been cathartic. It's been very cleansing, and I could see where and why you would be so incredibly anxious. Because I mean, I would almost think that if your lyrics are this personal, that getting it out there and to where everybody else can hear it and enjoy it and perhaps relate to it, like that's like the next step of going.
Yeah,
know?
I think that's part of the reason why I'm eager to creatively move on from
Yeah.
it too. I definitely want it to be heard, and I hope it's well received. As I believe it will be. But yeah, I mean, emotionally, I'm totally ready to move past the content of it. And I think all.
So what happens then when you got to come back and start playing these songs live? Are you going to be okay with that?
That's what David asked me about. How are you going to feel about this years down the road? And it's a moment in time, and it's just like a reflecting point, I guess, at that.
Right.
And for the dark stuff that you've written about or the tough times, you'd be grateful that you made it through it and made
Right.
it alive, I guess.
But are you going to get on stage and then ignore those songs, or are you
Oh,
going to get on
absolutely
stage and then
not.
just
Oh,
pour
yeah,
all
no.
of that out all over
Yeah,
again?
yeah.
No, that's why I asked, because we're gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna play these ones for a while. But no, I mean, because and some of them are written in a broad sense too. There's a single I gave
there's a
you.
lot.
There's a single I sent you called Better Days, which is the single released. And it's just, I mean, I try to write stuff in a broad way, even if it's directly from me. Better Days is just about the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And hoping to find that light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's a pretty broad thing. I mean, because who hasn't gone through?
Exactly. That's something everybody's gonna relate to.
Yeah, everybody's gone through down times in their life. So, I mean, there's a couple that are a bit direct, but most of it's pretty broad, but it's some pretty heavy stuff that I unfortunately had to go through. And
But you came out,
yeah,
a few more scars,
I'm good.
and and some incredible material, obviously.
Exactly.
So, do we have a title for this record, and when can we expect it?
It's called Los Cuatro,
Yes.
and I think our CD release show currently is slated for September 1st
Where?
at Revelry.
At Revelry in Hendersonville.
We're not supposed
Cool
to give
club.
out too many details about it yet.
That's as much as we can
That
give.
that's all we need. We've got
Yeah.
the where and the when. That's
There
all
will
we
be
need
other
there. So.
bands with us that night, and that's as far as it goes.
Okay, well, when we get the details, we'll make sure we plaster them out there and come check it out. In the meantime, they can find you on Facebook, Stack, all capitalized, Stack Band, on Facebook. And then you guys have got another website that they can find your music.
Stackband.com, links to everything pretty much.
There you
Yeah,
go.
because we're on Reverb Nation too. And,
Reverb Nation. I don't think MySpace works anymore.
but yeah, the single. yeah, the single.
That's
is,
one thing I miss about MySpace is the amount of music you could find. You discovered so much.
Yeah, I mean that was a cool part of it. I don't really completely understand how Facebook took over so much, but
Well, Tom allegedly sold MySpace for something like $580 million and bought a couple of fancy cameras and is roaming the world being a freelance photographer. And he's making a crap ton off of his photographs now, too.
okay.
I'm sorry we disrespected you, Tom, because, MySpace was awesome for the bands. It was amazing.
Yeah, there was some cool
Send me.
stuff.
So,
Yeah, I like that. I remember that.
But the single is out though. I have to plug that. The
Yeah,
single
we'll do
is already on iTunes and Amazon and.
so
Spotify.
download it, purchase it, don't steal it,
Yes.
please.
I don't even know if you could steal it, but if you did.
I'm sure somebody would figure out a way. Because people
Yeah.
are rude like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, make sure you check them out on Facebook, Reverb Nation, and of course stackband.com. And September, we look forward to the new album. I'm really excited to see what you've got because I know what I've heard already, and right now you've got me just over here like excellent, ready to hear
We're
what's
going to
next.
brew it up through the summer. That's basically what we're doing.
Awesome,
Yeah, we're plotting our PR campaign as,
Yeah.
as we speak. This is
fantastic,
part of it.
wonderful. Well, David and Gary from Stack, thank you guys so much for coming in and having a little chat with me. Looking forward to the
Thank
new
you.
record and the CD release party. I'll do my damnedest to be there. I'm going to write it on my calendar right now. It is Rock Around the Region on Z97.5.
He looks around and